Well, Nathan, thanks so much for joining Fox Cricket. A few different topics to canvass today ahead of the Australian summer. But let's start, I want to take you back a couple of years to the SCG and Usman Khawaja making his way back in to the Australian team.
Yep.
The news that went round at the time, Travis Head, who'd been playing exceptionally well, test positive to COVID. Can you remember that sort of time and how weird it was being around the team when players would miss through COVID?
Yeah, I do remember. It's a good question. Obviously in Melbourne we had an unbelievable win, celebrated with families out on the oval, not in the change rooms like we usually do, and celebrated the night. Then the next day, I think I found out late the following day. Then my wife and myself actually drove back from Melbourne to Sydney, just to get home for an extra couple of days. But then to hear that Trav's been ruled out and you can't play this game due to COVID was unbelievable. But then you see the positive side of it, and you see Usman come back in to arguably his home ground and perform like he did in that Ashes game was pretty remarkable. Yeah.
He, popular figure around the team, and you'd played with him at different stages and in and out of the team, throughout his career. Was there a real feeling of whenever someone gets that chance, let's hope they make it, and when he's starting to bat really well in that first innings, are you willing him on towards that century? What's the scenario there?
100%. I feel like anyone who comes in and plays cricket for Australia, you want to see your mates do well. And Uzi, with being the self-proclaimed people's champion, it was amazing to see him come back, and you could see the raw emotion of when he did get his 100, then backed it up in the second dig as well, which was pretty special. It's going to go down as one of the big special moments at the SCG for me, that's for sure.
Can you remember anything that he said, or the reaction inside the rooms when he sort of came back in after that first dig?
Yeah, the reaction was a lot of laughing, questioning why the dance moves or the LeBron James or whatever it was, the celebrations. There was a lot of question marks, especially from the bowlers. But all in all, he's a unique character, and he pulled it off.
And then he goes back out, a couple of days later and backs it up. It's a rare feat in Test cricket to make back-to-back tons. At that stage, you're thinking, well, this guy might just about be batting himself into a position full time. What are your thoughts through that period?
What are my thoughts? You're asking a bowler, do I like seeing batters get hundreds? I absolutely love it when you see our top order get runs. It means we've got a little bit more time off our feet, and we always say if within the change room, if you give us bowlers a day off, we'll win you a lot more games than we lose. So unfortunately, we didn't go on with that game and able to win that test match. But yeah, it was pretty amazing to see him come back and perform the way he did, that's for sure.
Move on to Dave Warner and the SCG, potentially being his last test. Just what's your favourite memory of Dave? And it can be off the field, it can be around the locker rooms, it can be in innings. What are your sort of memories there?
I've been very fortunate enough to play over 100 test matches with Davey, and I honestly believe that he's probably the most generous bloke I've ever met, especially off the field, but he's probably the biggest competitor I've ever played with. So one of my best memories would be on the cricket field, his 100 here at the Wacker against India in the session. That really, for me, stamped his mark in Test cricket back in, I think that was 2012.
Yeah.
But I've been able to see some amazing innings. 300 at Adelaide, the 200 at the MCG, the 100s at the SCG. Sit here all day and talk about it, but hurts my brain talking about Davey too much.
Well, I will ask you one more though. Where does he sit in terms of Australian cricketers? Michael Vaughan talked to one of my colleagues this morning and said, you look at his figures and he realistically deserves to be considered one of the greatest openers of all time. Do you think he's somewhat underappreciated or undervalued nationwide?
Yeah, I do. I look at David and David's career, and I honestly believe when he's retired, the Australian public are going to realise the importance that David has played in this Australian Test team for the last 13 years. His role of going out there and scoring hard runs, doing the hardest job arguably. Even in the last Ashes, I know he didn't get the big 100 and stuff, but he played some very important knocks that not many people were talking about. So I look at David, and I do think he's in the top 2 greatest openers of all time for Australia.
Tell us about life as growing up in Young, and how did it form you as a person and a cricketer?
Growing up in Young, so background about Young's about 7,000 people. So small town, lived in town with family, one older brother, mum and dad, and I feel like it developed my cricket game at a lot faster rate than probably what the city kids were at that stage. By that I mean I was playing on turf wickets at the age of 9, 10. I reckon I can count on one hand how many games I've played on synthetic wickets. But I was also playing A grade at the age of 12. So that was against men, and they didn't hold back at all. That was one deal that they didn't have to hold back, and I was there to compete like everyone else. And so I was playing 2 games of cricket every Saturday and probably Sunday as well. So played a lot, but yeah, loved it.
The subtleties of learning on a turf pitch as opposed to a synthetic, what does it do? More flight and learning to use variation, etc. How does it? What was the difference there? The advantage?
Well, you get the ball to move, and it's not the consistent bounce. So back then I used to bat in the top 5 and bowl as well. So it helped my batting immensely because you just can't hit through the ball and hit through the line of it. And so I feel like playing grade cricket down there was, as I said, sped my game up to be able to play against men at the younger age of 12, and had an older brother who I probably should have listened to a little bit more. But all in all, I wouldn't change my upbringing, that's for sure.
And those guys go away and play country weeks and different things like that. It's it's good, tough cricket. I suspect you'd have some famous or some pretty fun memories of that time as well.
Yeah, well, from sitting at the pub at the age of 14, after every game and not understanding what anyone's talking about, but listening to the banter and having the respect that you get for having a drink with the opposition. So I feel like the little things like that you're able to learn a lot quicker as a country kid, I dare say, but I don't know, pretty amazing. And as I said, I wouldn't change it.
So you move through and you start becoming, I suppose, state selection and underage selection, and then sort of into senior selection. What's that like when you're a young guy? Where are you thinking you can get to as a cricketer coming up?
Well, I always dreamt of playing cricket for Australia, playing state cricket, and I was 18 when I moved to Canberra, and that started my journey through my pathways under 17s, under 19s into the Canberra Comets, second 11. So then you realise I've always said you're only 3 good innings, battle ball away from the next level in cricket. So had that mindset, but then I moved to Adelaide when I was 22, and I probably felt like I always never lost a dream, but probably felt like I was probably a little bit further away. I thought I was getting older at that stage, but looking at it now, I'm pretty young and pretty dumb, really. So I don't know, never lost a dream and never lost the hunger to train and get better.
You're working from memory as a groundsman as well at that stage?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
And you talked about, being around normal people, normal cricketers as a young boy when you're growing up. That sort of background as well, working, day to day, what did that sort of teach you about life and yourself?
Well, I know what the real life's like. I know what getting up at 5:30 every day to go to work, 5 days a week, sometimes on the weekends, overtime or whatnot. But if you've also got a passion to go and chase that dream of doing the hard work, being disciplined to go to training, even though if you're tired from doing a labour job. So I know what it is. I know the value of $1. When I moved out of home, I was on $5.35 an hour.
Yep.
And living out of home in a share house, paying rent, trying to put food on the table. You end up chasing around the $10 snitty nights or rump steaks around the pubs, which isn't ideal. But yeah, I understand the value of it, and I feel like my journey, I understand the importance of working, building relationships with different people, and understanding that everyone's got a different journey and a different role they play in their life as well.
So when you're developing your craft, what at shield level and going into the national team, what are you looking at and what are you working on at that stage? And who's giving you, who you're looking to and who's helping you out through that period?
My biggest coach throughout, even today, 13 years of professional cricket. I first met John Davison when I was probably about 19 at a spin camp, and I got along really well with him, and he progressed my bowling and helped me out. I can only speak extremely high of Dave. I think he's the best spin coach in the world, and so I've been able to work with him for a long period of time. But when I got to the Australian cricket team, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to work a game. I didn't know how to bowl an over properly at that level, and it wasn't until Ricky Ponting and Brad Haddon and Mike Hussey really put their arm around me and helped me in the test setup to really understand and get an understanding on how I need to approach Test cricket.
I might just take you back to John. What makes a good coach? What made him a good coach for a young spinner? Is it the patience? Is it the calming influence? What helps there?
I think what makes Davo a really good coach is I think he's patient, but he's willing to give criticism. And I feel like, especially probably today, there's a lot of people out there who don't like receiving criticism. No one does like it, but you need to be brave enough to accept it and take it on board, and you can either put it in one pocket and park it, or put it in the other pocket and learn from it and grow from it. So I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things. Davo's more than happy to give criticise me in good, bad or indifferent. So we've just got that open relationship. We can have those tough conversations, and all down I know that he's only trying to help me at the end of the day.
You talked about a young man, and you have Ponting and you have Hussey and Brad Haddon. I think Steve Smith was talking yesterday about the influence Brad Haddon had on him as well, in terms of, with the Sydney Sixers, etc. How important is that for a young cricketer coming into a national team, particularly when they've been legends? You would have been watching those guys.
Yeah. I had Ponting and Hussey and Haddon on my wall at home when I was a kid growing up, and posters, and to then be their teammate and be able to sit down with them, learn from them, and have them share advice, stories or whatnot. It's incredibly important, and it's something that Steve Smith, myself, David Warner, Mitchell Stark, these guys need to be doing now. I see there's a massive role for us senior players in the Australian cricket team to really be putting their arm around a couple of younger guys and helping them out, but also letting them run their own race, but be there to support them and help them out when needed.
And I'll ask you about one of those young guys while we're on that subject. Cameron Green, he's been a massive year, and he was in and out. You weren't in India, but he was, he came back into that World Cup team late and made 47 against England. I think history shows that cricketers rebound from being dropped. But where do you see him in terms of his status for Australia and his future for Australia?
Greeny's future for Australia is going to be one hell of a ride. I think it's going to be. I'm amazed to watch the journey that he's on. I feel like he's growing weekly or daily within this Australian cricket team. He come in, was pretty shy, but he's found his voice now, which is amazing. But you can see so much growth. I feel like he's going to be the face of Australian cricket for the next, I don't know, how old is he, 23?
24.
24?
Yep.
He's going to be the next 12 years.
Yeah.
So incredible to see that journey. I feel like he, in my eyes, without putting any pressure on him, I feel like he's got potential to go down as one of the greats of Australian cricket.
When you're looking at the batsmen you've bowled against sort of internationally, and I'm mindful you may not want to say the ones that are still batting, but who's the toughest to bowl to? Or who are some of the toughest to bowl to?
Yeah, the toughest probably A.B. de Villiers is up there.
What, just his ability to play spin to
hit you anywhere in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say AB.
And when you're bowling and in the nets, are there any Australian batsmen you would have not liked to bowl against? Or any that you would have fancied your chances against?
There's a few I'd fancy my chances, I guess. Oh no, you look at someone, I've played a lot of Test cricket with Smithy.
Yeah.
And you see his record. The other night was the first night when I was on the Renegades bench watching the Sixers game. It was the first time I ever clapped when Smithy got out. So it's been I felt weird doing it, but I don't know. You want to challenge yourself against the best. I have some unbelievable net sessions against Smithy, so I'm never going to play against him in Test cricket, so I don't have to worry about that.
And what's just his ability to use the crease, be back and forth? Is it the swiftness of his feet?
Oh, I think for me it's his hands.
Yep.
His hands. I look around at batters around the world, and the best batters have got the best hands. They've got fast hands.
The guys you bowled with, I suppose the premier pace trio at the moment. What sort of bond do you guys have, and how do you think you've helped each other? Or hindered each other?
No hindering. No, it's a pretty unique and pretty special bowling group. I feel like we're the first bowling squad or quartet or what do you want to call it that to ever play together. It's all got over 200 Test wickets, and now we're all over 230 Test wickets each, respectively. So I feel like we've all helped each other out, and they've probably helped me out a lot more than what I've helped them out. But I thoroughly enjoy playing Test cricket with them. You know what you're going to get. They're extremely professional and they're bloody good at what they do, and makes my job a little bit easier.
Oh, I was going to say, the performance, sustained performance and excellence of the four of you, but do you sometimes get blown away by their skill, what they can actually...
No,
I
don't get blown away by anything what they do.
Well, can you tell us about their skill? Are they as skilled as you've seen?
Yeah, well, you look at Starkey, his ability to swing the ball, take a wicket in the first over. I'd hate to see how many times he's done that. I actually love it, but then you look at the consistency of Josh, the skill set of that Josh, be able to move the ball, but then Pat's probably the most skillful bowler out of all of them. He seems to be able to do anything he wants.
Yep.
Bit of golden balls, isn't he?
Golden balls, I like that. Just touch on a couple of one-day and T20 highlights and sort of Test highlights. What are some of your great memories of all forms of the sport?
Great memories. I don't know. I love just being challenged by different things, different times, different facilities, different surfaces. So I don't know. I've been lucky to play. I only played two T20 games for Australia, 29 one-day games, and thoroughly enjoyed each one of those games. So to be a part of the 2019 World Cup was special. Was part of the Sixers for 10 years now with the Renegades.
Yep.
Pretty excited about being with them. I feel like there's something special building down there with the squad they got. So I know all in all pretty happy.
Your favourite venue to bowl at in Australia and
Adelaide Oval.
Adelaide Oval, and why?
It's the best wicket. It's the best pitch. Obviously know the curator very well there, but
yeah.
He produces the wicket. That's the contest between bat and ball.
And internationally, where's your favourite?
Adelaide Oval.
We'll leave it at that. And then just, I suppose, touching on the last few months, the Ashes, I suppose the entire test, that second test at Lords will go down as remarkable for many, many reasons. But you had a part in that, which I suspect, I don't know if you look back on that with any fondness at all, but I suppose the plaudits that went your way when you went back out after you'd popped the calf. What tell us about that, and what are your memories there?
What's my memories of day 4? Well, it started when I jumped out of the shower, I hopped out of the shower, and I said to my wife, I'm going to go bat, just so you know. And she's like, you're an idiot, you're not batting, you can't move. And I just want to let you know I'm going to bat. And I hopped into the ground, and the game was on and Pat was on the massage table, and I said to Pat, Pat, I'm going to bat. And he said, you're an idiot, Gary. You're not batting. And physio said the same thing. Doc said the same thing. So then I hobbled over to the coach and I said, mate, I want to bat. He goes, good, I want you to bat. So I said, right, you need to go talk to the medical staff. So that's one memory of that. Then I remember getting strapped up, a few drugs on board, then I'll go wait down in the long room. So I know you look back at it now, I probably didn't take it in as well I should have. The respect that the English crowd showed me, I was probably unexpected, if I'm being honest, and something that I'm extremely grateful for.
You hear the pop. I think you've talked about how difficult that sort of period when you were sidelined, and you're a centimetre away from having surgery. What do you look at? Is it you're happy to be back? Clearly happy to be back, but how hard was that? So I heard my calf go on that day 2, and I know I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken, shattered, in tears in the change room. But then I started the rehab journey. I flew home literally 2 days after that test match with my wife, and that was, I think I flew back on a Friday from memory, and Monday I was in the gym doing calf raises, or not so much calf raises, but learning to walk in the pool and starting my rehab journey there. So it's been it was a 15-week rehab journey before I was back playing. So, but I had the mentality I wanted to rehab this calf injury like no one's ever rehabbed an injury before, and I'm proud of the way I stuck at that, and with the help of the CA and the New South Wales medical staff. Yeah, I wasn't a very good watcher at home at all. I probably wasn't a very good person to be around. 496 wickets. You're within reach of, I think, 500. I think you're sit 8th in terms of all-time wicket takers and 3rd in Australia. What does that, do the numbers mean much to you, or is it always about getting the next wicket? How do you look at that sort of career?
Pretty proud. It's always the next wicket. That will always be the case. But when you look at the greats of Australian cricket in the likes of Warne and McGrath, 2 guys who've only ever taken over 500 wickets, and for me to be 4 away from that, and for me to be edging my way closer to those guys, it's pretty amazing, and something that I'm proud about, being a little country kid from young, and someone who's always dreamt of playing cricket for Australia. Did I dream of taking over 400 Test match wickets? No, God no, but I wouldn't change it.
And you talk about putting your arms around the younger guys coming in, but what about the kids that you may have inspired, and perhaps take up a craft that you clearly love?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you go around to clinics now, and obviously they've grown up watching over the last 10 years the likes of Smith and myself and Starkey and these guys playing. You start to see the little similar techniques walking around. It does put a smile on your heart, on your face, and make your heart a little bit warm. And I'm all about trying to give back to the game and inspire young boys and girls to play the game that's what I believe is a game for all, and everyone should have a go and enjoy it.
The MCG test, what makes playing in that so unique? Is it different to any other test?
Is it different? I've been lucky enough to play the last 12 of them, so yeah, it is different because it's Christmas. You've got family, I've obviously got kids. It's a pretty amazing time to be around, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like Christmas, it feels like work a little bit, but all in all, it's pretty amazing. It's amazing venues to go and play at, and the spectacle of walking out there at a Boxing Day. I think the most was 90,000 that we had for an Ashes Test match back in 2013-14. That was, I'll never forget that sight. That was, pretty amazing.
There's been some chatter about the reign that the SCG's test has had over the last few years, and the potential of moving it in the schedule. What would your thoughts be about that, given its history and tradition?
No, I'm all for tradition. There's a lot of history there. The New Year's Test is always the Sydney Test in my eyes. So, as long as I'm still playing, I'm expecting it to be at the SCG.